Okay.
Hi, everybody. I am happy to say that my guest for this episode is none other than Chris Propfe, who's got a channel, Chris Propfe Musically Obsessed. If you have not checked out Chris's channel yet, I strongly urge you to do so. Chris has a magnificent collection, and his tastes are as eclectic as he loves Neil Diamond. He loves Frank Sinatra, and yet on the other end of the spectrum, he's a huge Crocus fan, huge Black Flag fan. He's got so much punk music in his collection. And one of the things that Chris and I are both very passionate about is the Monkees. So we are going to try and narrow down our favorite Monkee songs to a list of 10. We've each selected our top 10 favorite Monkee songs. And just to kind of give us a little room to cheat, I have asked us also, we can have a couple of honorable mentions for our list. So Chris, I just want to say welcome. And the first question I have for you is, how did you get into the Monkees? How old were you? And what was your first exposure to the Monkees?
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for having me on. I appreciate it. I love your channel as well. I'm really excited to do this tonight. How did I get into the Monkees? Well, let's see. I was born in '74, and I think they started to replay the Monkees on MTV, I want to say, in the early '80s. I forget what year it was, but I was probably, I don't know, 10 years old, 10, 11 years old, 12 maybe, when they started to replay the Monkees episodes. I can't remember the exact year in the 80s when that happened, but
I think it was 86.
86. Okay. So yeah, I was like 12 years old. And I remember really getting into the episodes. I loved their chemistry on the show. And then, of course, the music was part of the show as well. And I got into that. And then I remember one of my first cassettes was, it was the Then and Now Greatest Hits collection, which had, some of those, the classic songs plus the newer songs they put out. And then I got the Greatest Hits that had like the orange cover. I think it was just called Monkees Greatest Hits. So I was listening to that. And that was like kind of how I got into the Monkees. It was through the episodes on MTV.
Yeah, you're like me. That was my first exposure to the Monkees. It was called Pleasant Valley Sunday, and it was on MTV.
Okay.
I believe it was 1986. And the only Monkee song I think I had heard up to that point was "I'm a Believer." I believe my dad might have had the single, or somebody in my family. I know I heard that song before. Yeah. And I was a huge Beatles fan at the time. I was everything Beatles. There were two things that I liked. I liked the Beatles, and I Three Stooges. And so I watched MTV in the day, and I remember tuning in that Sunday and like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is the best thing I've ever seen before, because it combined, the slapstick of the Three Stooges and the amazing music of the Beatles. And so I watched it that day, and I'm like, how was I totally, I was 15 years old at the time. And I remember thinking like, how did I live to be 15 years old and never knew about the Monkees? And so I was like all in at that point. And the first thing that I did is the first Monkees music that I actually bought was I went out and I went to my local record store. I forget what it was called, like Music World. I don't even remember, but I got this was the more greatest hits of the Monkees.
Yeah.
This had like Cuddly Toy on it. It had words. It had Take a Giant Step. All the things that were in the TV show that I remembered. And so I was like hardcore into, collecting the Monkees after that point. I started, Rhino re-released all their studio albums. And, I was taping I was taping the television show. Yeah, so they had, and they replicated the Colgems label too, only it was, which was a cool thing also. But yeah, after that, I was totally, obsessed with the Monkees. And even today, I love the Monkees. And the thing that's unique for me is that, I actually enjoy more music that wasn't in the TV show than actually was in the TV show. And not that those songs aren't great, but they're just so, so many Monkees episode recycled the same song.
Right.
So you were hearing Last Train to Clarksville. If I never hear that song again, I won't be disappointed. And,
Oh, so that won't be on your top 10, I'm assuming.
no, you're not going to find that. You're not going to find I'm a Believer, all those, typical song. I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, as great as a song as that is. It's just, I've heard those songs so many times. And so, from my list, at least, there's only like one or two, I think, that actually appeared in the TV show. So
Right.
I thought did you come up with an honorable mention list before we get into our top 10?
I did, but I want to mention something I forgot to mention early Monkees memories. My dad, I used to thumb through my dad's records, and he had the second album, More of the Monkees. And I remember listening to that a lot. I really, really loved that album. I mean, you've got She on there, Auntie Griselda's on there, Stepping Stone. So that was my first exposure to a lot of those early Monkee songs. Then I remember going to like the store and thumbing through the cassettes. And I think one of my first cassettes by the Monkees was Changes, which is crazy because that's like the other side of the spectrum,
Right.
By that point, it was just Davey and Mickey in the band. But I'm proud to say that I saw Mickey and Mike down in New York City live for their.
I saw that T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I mean, Mike Nesmith sang Joanne, which was not a Monkee song, of course. It was his hit when he was with the First National Band. But to hear him sing Joanne live was just amazing because I'm a huge Nesmith fan. He's my favorite Monkee.
Sure.
So, yeah, I forgot to mention that. I wanted to make sure that was in there. But, yeah, I do have honorable mentions.
Okay. Well, let's get to your honorable mentions, and then I'll do mine. And then what we'll do is we'll each share our number 10. Then we'll share number 9 and just kind of go, number until we get to our number 1.
Awesome. Yeah, and like I was telling you before, about a year ago, I came out with a top 20 of my Monkee songs. So I went back in there today and I looked at it and I'm like, all right, this needs to be updated a little bit, as we all do. Our tastes change and song selections change. So I kind of went from that list, but then I added and took a few off. But so my honorable mentions, I'm putting Zoran Zam as an honorable mention. Love that song. Starting off with just the rhythmic, beat of the snare drum and Mickey's vocals. Got to throw Tapioca Tundra in there. I wanted to put it in the top 10, but there were other songs that beat it out. But Tapioca Tundra, the first time I heard that song, I didn't like it because it was totally different than anything that I heard from the Monkees. But now it's one of my favorite songs. And that was the B-side to Valerie, I want to say.
Yeah, yep.
I'm pulling 2 songs off of Changes. I know Changes gets crapped on. I love the album. I love Oh My My, and I love Ticket on a Ferry Ride. Those songs are killer. I'm also going to choose 2 more. You Just May Be the One and Randy Scouse Git. I mean, it's tough. Like, any of those songs could have been put in my top 10, but I don't know. There's just certain songs that kind of beat those out for me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned the album Changes. And yeah, I think most Monkees do kind of crap on that. And I think even the Monkees themselves, even Mickey and Davey, who were, the only Monkees on that album, don't necessarily hold it in high regard. But I think Oh My is a great track. I love Ticket on a Ferry Ride. I think 99 Pounds, Davey's hardest rocking tracks. And Midnight Train was actually, they dubbed that into one of the Monkees' old episodes. What was it called? It was the one where they had the party, the Chaperone.
Okay.
They dubbed that into the original. So I thought like, oh, well, they put an older Monkees song on Changes, but really that was, a song that Mickey Dolenz had written. Might have demoed it around the headquarters sessions.
Okay.
But really, that's a fantastic album. And don't believe that, well, it's just an Andy Kim album and it's a contractual filler album. It's really not. If you're a Monkees fan and you haven't checked out Changes yet, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I mean, there are a few like you might expect, a David ballad or two, but
Yeah.
I don't knock that album at all. I've actually got it on vinyl, CD, cassette. So yep.
I like the song Acapulco Sun on here. And
Yeah,
then
that's a great one.
there's 3 bonus tracks. You got Time and Time Again, Do It in the Name of Love, which is great, and Lady Jane. So yeah, this album doesn't get enough love. I think you and I should just start just promoting this.
Absolutely. Well, and it's got I Never Thought Peculiar, which was a Voice and Heart composition.
Yeah.
So that's like the last song that was on the album proper. But
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for some of those, sentimental Davy songs, from time to time. Like they're not my favorite Monkees tracks, but I don't skip over them,
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, before we even get into the top 10, can I ask, like, what is your favorite Monkees album, or is that going to?
Well, I think we're alike in that my favorite one is Present.
Are you serious? Because seriously, that's mine too. And that is so weird because most people either they don't know this album or they don't like it.
Well, and I'll tell you how I came to discover Present. So I, up to the point where I wasn't buying greatest hits anymore, and Rhino had come out with their reissues of the original studio album. I was in a record store. It's called Foxhole Records, and it was a real tiny record store back in the day. And I went in there, and I was just looking for anything Monkees. I think at that point I had Headquarters, I had Pisces Aquarius, I probably had the first Monkees album, Birds and the Bees, and so I was just kind of looking, to see what they had. And so I saw this, and I'm like, well, this is odd. Peter's not on here. And the only song that I was familiar with was Listen to the Band. And I think probably A Little Girl, because it was on an album. It was called Flips. And it had, it was sort of like the 4th volume of Rhino's greatest hits collections or whatever. So I was familiar with those 2 tracks. And I thought, well, I'll pick it up, and, how bad can it be if I don't like it? And I really fell in love with the album. It's almost like the Monkees' White Album, so to speak, and that.
Yeah, it's got a lot of diversity.
Yeah, I mean, I think Little Girl is so great with the guitar work on there. It's a jazzy, little tune with a great vocal. Good, clean fun. Is a great country rocker from Mike Nesmith. Even the Davies stuff on here, I like a lot. And Mickey, he's got so many great compositions on here. Bye Bye Baby Bye Bye, Daddy,
Mommy and Daddy,
first politically themed, track as it were. Mike Smith's got some great stuff on here, and Pillow Time is like the Monkees version of Good Night by the Beatles.
Right. And this was supposed to be a double record with your Torque.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each Monkee was going to have something side.
And what I wonder, I mean, do we know what songs Peter was going to do on this album, or not? I'm sure that information's somewhere.
Well, I think maybe Lady's Baby. Here. I'd have to go through like the Missing Links. Volumes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I've got those as well. I was going to say too, I think the guitar player on Little Girl was the same guitar player who played on Valerie.
Sure. Yep.
So
I think so too, because he's got that fast fret.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name. I can't remember his name, but
I don't know. That's amazing though, because like I said, I mean, either you don't know this album or you don't like it. So for us to share that's pretty cool.
Yeah, even Ladies Aid Society, that dates back to the Monkees sessions. So it's interesting they stuck that on there. But it's kind of a cute little, it's political somewhat, but it's sort of like, don't knock us for having long hair and being hippies. Kind of a song. But I don't know. I enjoy it. And I have such an affection for that album. And if I had to get rid of all my Monkees stuff and keep one album, it would be that one.
I would keep it too. This is it's an amazing album. This is a Friday Music re-release on 180 gram. But
that's got a gatefold, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'll show you here.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Did the original pressing have a gatefold or not? No.
No, it didn't, and it also it didn't have a like. This has got the back like.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember
Pictures
the
of
color.
color in it, but yeah, it's like yours. Mm-hmm.
And that is such a cool picture of Nesmith right there. I mean, he is looking like freaking like killer right there. I just love Nesmith. He's so cool. I don't think people realize how cool Mike Nesmith is.
No, and he's probably represented the most out of any Monkee on my list.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. Let's get into this. Oh, you got to give your honorable mentions.
Yeah. So for my honorable mention, I picked 5. You Told Me, the leadoff track on Headquarters.
Yep.
Love that, and I know that's actually on the Mike and Mickey show, the live CD. Did they do that live in concert when you saw them?
Well, let me check my CD here. I think they do it on here. Yeah, you told me. Yep, they did it. Yeah, I mean, they did pretty much every song that's on here. What I liked about this too is they pulled out some lesser known songs like Auntie's Municipal Court and things like that. So, and they're both in really good voice too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got the CD about a week ago. I'd heard it on Spotify, and I'm like, oh my God, the track selection on here is amazing. I got to get that. Yeah. So You Told Me. Then a track from Instant Replay, You and I, which has Neil Young on lead guitar. It's a Davies song, but Neil Young actually plays lead guitar on that. And
I did not know that.
Yeah. In his Buffalo Springfield days.
Oh, cool.
Doing some session music work. Yep. And then 13 is going to be Daily Nightly off Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones. I love the synthesizer on there. Mike Nesmith actually wrote that song, even though Mickey sings it.
Okay.
Sort of like Tapioca Tundra, where the lyrics are really abstract and
right.
The imagery is very rich. Number 12 is a song I really wanted to squeeze into my top 10 because I love it to death, but I'm glad at least it's high up on my honorable mention list, and that's Listen to the Band.
Okay.
Which of course is on Present.
Right.
11 is the only Peter Tork song that is on my list, and it's off of Head. It's Do I Have to Do This All Over Again?
That's a great song.
Yeah, I love it. And I don't think you haven't seen the movie, have you?
I actually did, and where did I put it? Oh, I put it right over here. I found it, and I think I got it on eBay. But
okay, there it is.
I finally watched it, and this is actually hard to find now on DVD.
Yeah, I think it's out of print.
And I watched it with my kids, and it's just spaced out. Like I love the music from this. I'm gonna have to watch the movie again though, because it seems like it's just sort of pieced together, and I'm sure that there's some sort of meaning to it, but I don't know. I haven't found it yet, but I like it. I just need to watch it again.
Yeah, well, it's so trippy, and it's so opposite of everything that was the TV series. And people who were thinking like, oh, it's going to be an hour and a half long Monkees television episode are really into it, really surprised. But it's such an interesting film, and there's a lot of really cameos in it. I mean, you got Annette Funicello, Zappa.
Isn't Jack Nicholson?
Jack Nicholson's in it. Yep.
Yeah.
So a lot of Victor Mature is in it. Terry Garr.
Yeah.
Makes a cameo in it. So it's just really it's such a bizarre movie to watch. But that particular segment where it's just like the whole psychedelic, do I have to do it all over again? And there's like the psychedelic dancing, and then they cut in some like old black and white footage, and it's just I don't know, that's one of my favorite Peter Tork songs of all time. So
it's a great song.
Yeah, that's my number 11 honorable mention. So we're going to get into our top 10 now, and so Chris, what is your top 10 song?
All right, well, my number 10 is a song you mentioned, Daily Nightly. Of course, off of Pisces. I've always loved it. I think it's a Moog synthesizer in that song.
Yep.
And I love Mickey's vocals. I just love the whole psychedelic vibe of it. And I always liked where it was placed in the album as well. It's towards the end of side 2. It comes right after Pleasant Valley Sunday. So you have Pleasant Valley Sunday, which is this, huge hit for them and such a melodic song. And then it goes into Daily Nightly, which is just like, trippy. But I've just always loved that song. And so that's my number 10.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love that. And I love, there's a, in the TV series, when they perform that song, it's like black and white. And to my knowledge, it's the only black and white video that they ever did in the TV series. And it's just so effective. They're all wearing the white turtlenecks and just really cool. I've always loved that song and that video. So number 10 is going to be, for me, is going to be off the Headquarters album. I'll Spend My Life With You.
It's a great song.
I love like the slide guitar, just everything about it. I think Mickey sings it well. It's just very unassuming, and it's a really spare instrumentation considering, the Monkees had never as an ensemble played together on an album before. They really put it off, and they have kind of a garage band feel, but it's not super polished. It's not overproduced. And I really, that's one of my favorite Headquarters tracks.
I know what's going to happen tonight. You're going to say songs, and I'm going to be like, crap, I should have put that in 10.
Yeah, well, probably for you too. Yeah, I'm going to be like, oh, why did I not put that on here?
Yeah, so and actually, if we film this tomorrow, our top 10s might be a little different. But
sure.
So we're up to my number 9.
Yep.
All right, this is all right. I'm gonna go with Early Morning Blues and Greens.
Oh, see right there already.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Davey on vocals. I think the lyrics to the song are probably the most poetic of any of the Monkees tunes. Plus, there's the cool like crashing sound in the song. I don't know how they make it. It sounds like almost like they're hitting a piece of metal or something. Mm-hmm. And then organ work in it too. It's got a lot of different stuff going on. And Davey, like I said, does some really, really good vocals on that. But yeah, Early Morning Blues and Greens, love it.
Well, and I love too how it starts out where it's just the keyboard, and then you get the guitar strum, and then you get the bass, and then the drum. Yeah. Like each instrument is gradually introduced until they're all playing together. And I think it was I forget who wrote that. Diane.
Not sure.
I can't think of her last name now, but I love that song. And that's, now that you say that, I'm like, oh, that's at least an honorable mention because I love that song. That is so true. Okay.
And it's got a great psychedelic vibe to it, like that organ. Down, no, 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 no.
Yeah, the organ, the keyboard solo.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah,
it's just killer. Yeah.
It's a great song.
But, yeah. So number 9 for
Jeff,
me is.
You should have put it in there, Jeff.
I know. Well, tomorrow my list is gonna have that on there. Number 9 for me is going to be "Good Clean Fun" from Propfe.
Great song.
Yeah, I love that. I love the lyric. It's just somebody coming home wondering if the girl they left behind is still going to be waiting for him, and as one of those tracks that I think Mike pulls off effortlessly. And Mike really, I think, was instrumental in introducing country rock to a generation of people. At the end of the 60s, that started to become really popular. And I think Mike Nesmith was at the forefront of that. And "Good Clean Fun" is just a great track. And the title "Good Clean Fun" is nowhere in the lyric of the actual song. But I don't know. It's just a feel-good song. It's just kind of like you got the fiddles and, it just kind of rolls along. And it's a song, if any other artist did it, I don't know that I would like it. But because I like Mike Nesmith so much, and I don't know, I just, like I said, for all the reasons I like the album Present, I really enjoy that song.
Yeah, and that's so weird because I love the song too, and I didn't even put it in my honorable mention. That's a mistake for me too. And you know what? With Michael Nesmith, I think that's why a lot of times I listen to the Monkees more than I listen to the Beatles, because I love the country that Mike Nesmith brought. That I think that made the Monkees unique.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of people were doing that. I mean, obviously the Byrds were experimenting with country. Of course, Neil Young and all those guys. But yeah, the Monkees, I think Nesmith definitely is one of the creators of country rock.
Yeah.
So, but all right. So what am I? I'm up to my number 8 now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm going back to an early album. This is I don't know if I said this in the video or not, but I did. Yeah, my dad had this on vinyl. I'm going to pull off the song "Sometime in the Morning." Mickey, it's a beautiful song, and Mickey's vocals are amazing on it. It's a real mellow, just love song, and I've just always really liked it.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful track, and I don't know if I'm just misremembering, but I almost think Mickey has said that might be his favorite Monkey song, or one of his favorite anyway. But yeah, he does such a great vocal on there, and
Yeah.
everything about it. It's just a great track, and it was in the TV series. I don't think it was in many episodes, but that was the first time I think I'd heard it. But yeah, I regret that I don't have any representation for more of the Monkees, but if I did, it would definitely be that song.
Well, that could be my favorite song on this album. I mean, and you've got a lot of great songs. You've got "She" on here. You've got "Mary Mary," your Annie Griselda, "Stepping Stone," "Look Out Here Comes Tomorrow," which is amazing. "I'm a Believer's" on here, but I think "Sometime in the Morning" might be my favorite song on this album.
Yeah, that or "The Day We Fall in Love" for sure. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, "The Day We Fall in Love." Yeah, that song sucks. I forgot that was on here. And you know what? This might be sacrilege, but I don't really like the first Monkees album that much. I don't think I ever really listened to that album. Like, "Gonna Buy Me a Dog" is so stupid.
Yeah.
I'm done with the theme song. I've heard it in English. I've heard it in Italian or whatever other languages they did it in. I don't know. I don't ever go. Plus, I don't like the cover. I don't know. We're all wearing the same shirt. And
the only songs that, and if I listen,
Papa Jean's Blues.
Yeah. If Papa Jean's Blues is my favorite on there. I think Saturday's Child I like, and maybe Tomorrow's Gonna Be Another Day. But other than that, like, I've just heard those songs to death. They've been so played. If I never hear the Monkees theme again, like I say, I'll never miss it. But I don't think I have anything off the first Monkees album on my list either.
I don't either.
I almost, Papa Jean's Blues almost made my honorable mention, but I squeezed it out nonetheless. So number 8 for me is going to be, I am a huge Harry Nilsson fan. So my lone Davy song in my top 10 list is going to be "Cuddly Toy."
Okay.
Yeah, I love Harry Nilsson, and I love the Monkees' interpretation of that song. It's just kind of a music hall, kind of a poppy track off of Pisces Aquarius.
What's the meaning behind the lyrics of that song?
So I think what it is, it's a track about a breakup. And the person, who's singing the song is saying, "Hey, get over yourself." Like, you're not, you're not the only cuddly toy to have ever been enjoyed by any boy. You're not, the only choo-choo train that's been left out in the rain. Like, stop, stop being, so I don't. That's my interpretation of it anyway. But I think it's just sort of a put down. Kind of like some of Bob Dylan's put down songs where it's just like, hey, get over it. Yeah. You're not as innocent as you try to act. And so, whatever. But yeah, sometimes the lyrics are like secondary to me. Like, it could be about anything, but I just think it's a great melody. I love, the la, 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 everything, I don't know. I just,
no, it's a good song. I don't have any Harry Nilsson in my collection. I have to remedy that. I thought I read somewhere that Cuddly Toy was about like a biker gang fight or something like that.
Oh, it could be. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making that up, because sometimes I do make things up, but
Yeah, now that you say that, I think I've heard something about that, but yeah, I'm sure you're right.
yeah, I like your interpretation though too. So, all right, so number 7.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make sure it's on this album. Yes, it is. Okay. Off of Instant Replay, and this was probably maybe the second Monkees album I bought after Present. It's weird because it's got a different cover sometimes. There's different pictures of them on the front. But,
yeah, like the CD. Let me grab the CD real quick because that's got it.
Yeah, I think I have it here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it here, Jeff, if you can't find it. Different covers.
Yep.
Yeah. So strange. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to pull the song While I Cry, Michael Nesmith. I mean, that song, like if somebody cut that again today, it would be like if a country artist cut that song, it could be a hit. It's amazing, man. I play guitar and I sing as well, and I've learned how to play that song, and it's just it's a beautiful song. And Michael Nesmith, I mean, he just knocked it out of the park in that song. So and it sounds nothing like the Monkees. Like if you put that song on for somebody and they'd be like, okay, who is this? Mm-hmm. And technically it's like a Michael Nesmith solo song, but it's the Monkees. And that was what was so cool about them, is that they brought that country flavor. And While I Cry, man, that song is just killer. So.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story about the Instant Replay album. So, I told you I was buying up all the Rhino albums, on vinyl because they just released. And so that Christmas, after I'd seen the special, I was in full on, Monkee obsessive mode.
Right.
Album that I didn't have on vinyl was Instant Replay. And so I'd asked my mom for Christmas to get, she asked, what do you want? And so I said, Monkees Instant Replay. Well, she didn't get me the vinyl. She got me the cassette.
Okay.
Opening, being like, oh, but I wanted the vinyl, so I'm like, okay, well, fine. And so that right after Christmas, I took a trip. We drove to Cincinnati and I had my Walkman, and the entire way I listened to Instant Replay. And at the time, I just had my very first girlfriend. We'd only been dating for a couple of months. And it was one of those situations where I liked her a lot more than she probably liked me. And so I listened to this the entire trip. And While I Cry, I remember thinking like, oh God, maybe that's what this relationship is, Yeah. And I'll never forget, that Christmas of whatever it was, 1985 or 86, whatever year that was, listening to this tape in its entirety. And While I Cry, I agree. I remember thinking, God, this is such a fantastic track. Nesmith is such a fantastic songwriter and singer, and all the things that we know about Mike Nesmith to be true. And he's the only Monkee, I think, that you would listen to a song from and maybe not realize that was a Monkees. Mickey's got a very distinctive voice. Davey, you always know when it's Davy Jones. Peter Tork, has trouble singing its way out of a paper bag. But, Mike Nesmith was just such a authentic musician and songwriter. And there's a single Mike Nesmith track that he did for the Monkees that I think I don't like or have an affection for.
Well, it's funny that you pulled out that cassette, because you were my inspiration. After you showed all your Monkees cassettes, because your cassette collection is amazing, I went out and started to buy the Monkees cassettes. So the only one I'm missing now is Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees. I looked on Discogs; it's like $50 or something like that.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
So yeah, I'm gonna wait until it comes down in price, but that's the one I'm missing. So
okay.
But you were my inspiration.
Well, I'm always glad to inspire people to.
Like I needed to collect anything else, right?
Right. All right. So what was that? Was that number 7?
That was number 7 for me. Yep.
Okay. So my number 7 is an album or a song that was on your honorable mention list. It's going to be Tapioca Tundra for me.
Oh, I love that song. Yep.
Yeah, but I remember the same reaction that you had when you first heard it, because you've got the whistling is almost out of tune, the guitar that's being strummed. The beginning of that track is so different from what it becomes after you get past that intro. And I remember listening to it thinking like, oh God, this is terrible. This is so obnoxious. And then I kind of Mike's grunting and it's that kind of stuff that he's got in there, and it's got a bossa nova kind of beat to it. But you know, that song grew on me in a huge way, and now it's definitely one of my favorites. It's my favorite on side 1 of Birds, Bees, and the Monkees, and I think it's a great Nesmith track.
It's awesome. Yeah, I was reading something about that. I guess Nesmith had a huge collection of old 45s from like the 30s and 40s or whatever. And so he tried to model it off of that sound. And it kind of goes along, you know, the song Magnolia Sims?
Yeah.
Sounds like an old 45. I think he was going for the same thing there too. So he was, I mean, they were creative. I mean, a lot of people knock the Monkees. Oh, they're not the Beatles. But the Monkees were as creative. I mean, I'm not, you know, the Beatles were probably better musicians, but, and I don't know, maybe in some cases stronger songwriters, but creative wise, I think the Monkees were as creative.
Well, and people, you know, you can't knock the Monkees because they didn't play on every single track that they released, because you know who else didn't play on every track that they released is the Beach Boys. Yeah. Nobody is going to argue that they don't have a fantastic catalog. So I don't feel like, well, the Monkees were lesser of a band than the Beatles because they didn't play on all their tracks, and they had studio musicians and they had outside songwriters, you know, but I don't care if a song's great. I don't care who's performing it. I don't care who wrote it. And, you know, over the course of the entire Monkees catalog, there are just some fantastic songs that I would rank up with some of the Beatles' best stuff, definitely.
I agree with you. All right, so your number 7 was Tapioca Tundra.
Yep.
Which was off of Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees. I'm picking for my number 6 off of Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees, Auntie's Municipal Court, which, I mean, I just love the song. It was written by Nesmith, but sung by Mickey. And I was kind of doing some research about it. It's sort of cryptic lyrics again. Somebody was saying it could have been like pre-American Pie sort of stuff. And then somebody else was saying it was about like Nesmith's cocaine trip. But then somebody else was like, well, Nesmith never did cocaine. So it's sort of, I don't think anybody really knows what it's about, but the lyrics are really cool. And the melody is great too. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And, you know, it's interesting that Mike had Mickey sing, you know, not only Daily Nightly, which was a great track, but he also had him sing on the next album, Andy's Municipal Court. But yeah, I think it's very cool. I think it just kind of rolls along at a very cool pace. And it's really unique on that album in particular. You know, there's nothing else on that album that sounds like that, but it's so cool. And you got even like the way it ends is a little bit psychedelic, you know, too. So they still incorporated kind of, you know, it was a straightforward rock song, but also at the end they, you know, inject a little trippiness in the way that it plays out.
Well, you were saying before, Present is very diverse. I mean, this album is diverse as well. I mean, Tapioca Tundra, Righting Wrongs, which is like a strange piano piece that kind of goes all over the place. You've got Davey singing some like schmaltzy Dream World song, and then the Poster and P.O. Box 9847, Magnolia Sins, which I was talking about. And I mean, this album's all over the place too. So,
yeah, and it's got Zora and Zam, which was also on your honorable mention list.
Yeah, Valerie as well. So, yeah. All right.
All right. So my number 6, that's what we're on, right?
Yeah. This video is going to be like 8 hours long.
Yeah. My number 6 is going to be from Pisces Aquarius, Love Is Only Sleeping.
Great song.
Yeah, I love the twangy guitar riff. You've got some psychedelic echo in there, like psychedelic percussion. I know Mike didn't write the song, but
Yep.
I don't care. I There's just something about it that grabs me, and I don't know. I can't explain necessarily why I like it, but just everything about it I think is cool. It's another song that winds down, and it's, it's kind of cacophony of psychedelic sounds and echoes, and there's some organ in there towards the end. And yeah, I don't know.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
And I have always just loved the cover of that album too. It's just so cool. How the Monkees logo is like kind of hidden in the flowers or whatever. Yeah, it's just a really cool cover too.
Yeah,
I think
I like it.
a lot of people point to this as their
back.
That's cool too. A lot of people point to this album as their favorite Monkees album. A lot of people do. I mean, I can't argue with them. It's a great album.
Yeah, no, and it's what's pretty impressive is that was their third album in 1967. I mean, the Beatles only put 2 albums out in 1967. The Monkees had 3. They had, I think more of the Monkees I think came out in January or February of '67, and then Headquarters came out just before Sgt. Pepper did, and then in the fall of '67, Pisces Aquarius came out just in time to have those songs as part of season 2 on the TV show. But yeah, no, I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, it's a great album.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're getting into the meat and potatoes here. This is like the top 5 now.
Yep.
So my number 5 is Porpoise Song off of Head. Now this happens to be alternate Head, so these are alternate versions of the stuff on Head. Pretty cool album. It's got like a gold vinyl. I've always loved the Porpoise Song. Of course, it's the theme for Head, written by Goff and King. Just an amazing melody. I never get tired of listening to that song. And I think like that beginning sequence in the movie, if I remember right, isn't Mickey falling from a bridge into the water?
Yep.
And he's floating through the water, and the Porpoise Song comes in. It's just amazing. I love it. So yeah, that's number 5 for me.
Yeah, well, that's one of the, when I watch your episodes on your channel, I always get so jealous over something in any given episode. You always pull out one album that I'm like, oh, damn, I wish I had that. And your Friday music versions present and the alternate Head, I'm like, oh.
Well, I want to show you something too. Since we're talking about Head, I've got the Rhino, silver one. And then I found this, it's hard to see. This is a white cover of Head.
Oh, okay.
This is on Lightning Records. It's an English import. So
is there anything different on there that's not on the original album?
No, it's the thing. It's the same song, same sequence. It's just got a white cover, and it's got that inlay to it.
Okay, like the movie poster.
I just thought it was cool. I was like, all right, do I need another version of Head? Yes, I do, because it's a great cover. So yeah, but it's definitely one of my favorite Monkees albums.
Yeah, no, I agree. And when you consider there's really only 6 what you could consider, actual songs on that, and yet it's a full-length album. I enjoy all the little collages of dialogue and incidental stuff from the movie. And, Jack Nicholson actually compiled that soundtrack. So, the juxtaposition where it's like, that song was really white, and the same thing goes for Christmas, that was Jack Nicholson putting those, snippets of dialogue together and kind of making it funny. But yeah, and like one whole track is like a glass of cold gravy with a hair in
it. Yeah.
Opening of side 2, whatever. But yeah, no, I think Head's a great album. For a while, that was my Monkees album.
It's an awesome album. I need to get it. I need to get it on vinyl. I need to get the original one.
Yeah, the one I've got is it's still got the hype sticker on it. It's the Rhino.
Nice.
Version of that. It's got just the regular. That cover always reminded me of Revolver. It looks a lot like.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, and this one has a colored version of that.
Which is cool. I love when they, take alternate shots or colorize something that was previously in black and white, or, you know, like you say,
Yeah.
cover white instead of silver, or
Yeah.
reflective. Okay, so my number 5, and I don't know if we actually said this on camera or not. I can't remember because we were talking so long before we started recording, but it's going to be from my favorite Monkees album, Present. It's going to be the first track, Little Girl, is going to
Wow. Okay.
be number 5 track. And like you had said, the guitarist who does the guitar work on that album is the same guitarist featured on Valerie.
Mhm.
And I just love it. I think it's a great Mickey vocal. I love it's got a jazzy feel to it. It's not rock and roll in any way. It's just
No.
you know, it could fit very well on a lounge album, you know, a jazz
Great song.
album. Yeah, exactly.
It's short too. It's under 2 minutes.
Yeah, it really is, but it's such a great album opener.
We could have just picked this album as like this has 12 songs on it, but you know.
Yeah, no, I can't say enough about it.
Oh yeah, Little Girl is great. That was that should have been an honorable mention for me. It actually probably should have been in my top 10, but all right. So what am I up to, number 4 now?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going another Nesmith tune off of Head. I'm going with Circle Sky.
Great.
It's got to be one of the heaviest songs the Monkees did. I play it for my kids, and my kids love that song too. My daughter's in 8th grade or 10th grade. My son's in 8th grade. And, you know, so they're into like Taylor Swift and, you know, the newer bands. But when I put that song on there, like, oh, this is cool. Dun, 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 that guitar part. And yeah, Nesmith's vocals again, and sort of cryptic lyrics again. And I just love it.
And they re-recorded that for the Just Us album when they all reunited back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the live version of that that's in the movie, or do you like the studio version better?
I like the studio version.
Okay,
Yeah.
Peter Tork was pissed that Mike didn't put the live version on the album because he always thought, you know, that's us, you know, performing on that. And he kind of resented the fact that Mike chose the studio version, which is Mike and some session musicians. Is actually not the Monkees playing on that. But yeah, I prefer the studio version also. I mean, the live version's cool, but it's, I don't know, it's it doesn't have the same, it doesn't resonate with me like the studio version does.
I was just looking, the live version is a bonus track on this. Circles.
So you got it. Yeah, you can have both of them if you want.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going with the studio version though.
So number 4 for me, I'm going to go back to the Instant Replay album. Well, actually, I'm not going back. You had an Instant Replay song, While I Cry. So I am going for the first time to the Instant Replay album. Song. It's a Mike Nesmith song, no surprise. Don't Wait for Me.
That's a great song too.
Yeah, that always has been one of my favorite Mike Nesmith tracks. It's pure country rock. It's not rock and roll. It's something Graham Parsons would have been proud to have written. I love it all the way through. It's a great melody. It's got great, you know, steel guitar from Mike Nesmith. Just everything about it, I think, is just such a moving lyric. You know, I can't say enough about it. Love it.
Well, it was funny because it was between that song and While I Cry that was going to make my top 10. And I chose While I Cry over that. I mean, Don't Wait for Me is another great. They're almost like sister songs. I mean, they're very similar.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's another great song. So that was a good choice. All right, number 3 for me. And I don't believe that this ever appeared on an album, but it was the B-side to Daydream Believer, Going Down. That's my number 3, Going Down. Now, and it didn't, I don't think it appeared on an album. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so it's just a B-side, right?
You know what? I think
I mean, I don't want to tell the good people wrong information here.
This was the single, and
Isn't Going Down the B-side?
yes, it is.
Okay, yeah. So I don't think it appeared on an album. So
It did not. I think the first time it appeared on an album might have been as a bonus track on, is it a bonus track on Pisces Aquarius, the CD version?
let me look. Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
But it's an unissued alternate mix of the song.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've always loved Going Down. I love Mickey's vocals. He does sort of a jazzy, vocal thing. They do it live on this album as well. And I mean, you can tell Mickey just commands the stage. He is such a performer. He's a ham. And he gets up there and he can still sell that song. And it's a great song. And it's funny because I think it's sort of for being a B-side, it's sort of gained a status in the ranks of Monkees fans, I think.
Well, it's a fantastic video. When they do it on the TV show, it's not part of, one of their romps where they're just kind of running around acting silly over the music.
Yeah.
Really, gave Mickey the spotlight. It's like very darkly lit, and like the colors, different, colors that kind of light him up. And it's just a really cool video, a great way to present that song, which would have been the first time I had heard it. But yeah, you can definitely, Mickey was a big James Brown fan. He was huge into R&B, and he really got to shine on that. I know, like, I think in their first tour in late 66 or early 67, he would have like an R&B showcase. And I think that was before Going Down came out, but he would do kind of like that James Brown impression and James Brown in his solo set during their concerts. And then, he definitely pulls it off so convincingly on that track. And he's got such a tight band behind him as he plays that. It's just a great track, definitely.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been a double A side, actually,
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I like Going Down way better than Daydream Believer.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my number 3.
Okay, my number 3 is a song that you already had as part of your list, Porpoise Song, which we already talked about. A great Carole King track. Can't say enough about it. Just love it. It's, a perfect song, and one of the reasons why Head is one of my favorite Monkees albums. So I won't, belabor the point because we already talked about that, but that's my number 3.
Okay, well, my number 2 is off of Head as well. And it's As We Go Along, which is a beautiful, beautiful song. I believe it's another Goffin King song. And it's in a strange time signature as well. I can't remember the time signature, but I read it somewhere that it was a strange sort of time signature to choose to write a pop song in. Mm-hmm. It's I don't know. I'm not even going to pretend to know what time signature it is. I should know because I was a music major for a while, but it's just it's got a different feel to it. It's a beautiful melody. I've always loved the song.
I always wondered if Carole King ever covered her own songs. Like, did she ever? I don't think she ever did on one of her albums, but I wonder if live she ever performed that track. Because I'd love to hear her sing that and see what she does with it. But
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know. I think she has some albums where she did some of her own songs, but I don't know if she covered that song.
You're right.
We just gotten into Carole King a lot too. So, but I won't talk about that right now because it's about the Monkees. So.
Okay. Well, my number 2 is going to be off the Headquarters album, and it is going to be Randy Scow's Get, or if you bought the album in Britain, it's called Alternate Title. Just people don't give Mickey enough recognition as a songwriter. And I think Randy Scow's Get shows that he could stand toe-to-toe as a songwriter with the Beatles. He could stand toe-to-toe with even Mike Nesmith. I mean, that is a great song. It's just a playful, and it's in so many sections. You've got kind of like the little ditty, light, airy, beginning of the song, and then you get into that chorus, and it just pounds away. And why don't you cut your hair? Why don't you let, the whole litany, and then it quiets down again, and it's like, oh, we're back to kind of a, a dreamy little la-di-da track. And then, again with that, and just such inventive. And, the lyrics are talking about his trip to England, and him, kind of trying to represent that imagery, the four kings of EMI being the Beatles, and just the different things that he saw, maybe when he was dropping acid or smoking marijuana in the company of, all the dignitaries and the English music scene at that time. So I think it's totally Mickey, kind of in the way Shorty Blackwell is. It just shows Mickey's personality, how playful and clever he was, and how he could write a great rock single when he wanted to.
Yeah, that song is amazing. It was in my honorable mention, but yeah, that could have very easily made my top 10. It's a great song. They do that live on that new Monkees live album as well. So a good choice. All right, so we're number one, right? Well, I got to pull a song off my favorite Monkees album, and it's got to be a song by my favorite Monkee, Mike Nesmith, and it's "Listen to the Band." I've just always loved that song. I just love the breakdown in it. Listen to the band. Da, 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 da. I just have always loved the song. I never get tired of listening to it. I play it on guitar as well. I just think, it's just an amazing song. And I like his version too that he did with the First National Band as well. I like the Monkees version better, but he did a good version with the First National Band as well.
So. Yeah, that song's the only good thing about that TV show, 33 1/3 revolutions per monkey.
Yeah.
Seen that, but that is a piece of garbage if ever there was one. But the only redeeming grace of that is that at the very end of the TV special, they close with that song. And I mean, and granted, it's a little more poppy and showy version than what's on Present, but and actually it was recorded, and that was the first time anybody, if you were watching that show instead of the Grammy or the Emmys, whatever was competing with it that year, it might have been the Academy Awards. That was the first time you'd actually heard that song, and then they eventually released it as a single and on Present. But yeah, definitely, and I love just how, in a very Brian Wilson way of songwriting, the song just ends, and then all of a sudden you have the organ and then the drums picking up, and they'll listen to and it kicks in again. You got the brass, and it's got that crescendo of music at the end of it. It's such a great track. And then if you're listening to Present, you've got that great Davy track, French song right after that, which sort of takes you in a different mood. We're not here to talk about what a great album Present is, but I just think that was a great sequencing of songs on that album. But yeah.
But you know what? You bring up a good point though, because I think that's maybe why a lot of people don't like this record, because it's all over the place. Like you said, you've got listen to side 2, Ladies Aid Society, into Listen to the Band, into French Song, into Mommy and Daddy, into another Nesmith country tune, Oklahoma Backroom Dancer. And then you end with Pillow Time. I mean, side 2 is all over the place. So if you're not into different styles of music, you're not going to like it. But you and I were saying you and I are just into all different type of stuff. So I think we can appreciate it.
Yeah, and it really is. It's like the Monkees' White Album, because there's no one consistent style of music. There's nothing else like Little Girl on the album. Mike's got a couple, Never Tell a Woman Yes and Good Clean Fun, are comparable. But I think, for me, I would have loved to have seen that as a double album. If Peter had stuck around, what that might have looked like. Because, Peter was no slouch as a songwriter either. And, say what you want about his vocals, but I think that could have made a really powerful album if he had, been around and they'd stretched it out to a double album. But,
Well, he was a good musician as well. I mean, he played the banjo, he played guitar. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think he actually played banjo on George Harrison's Wonderwall soundtrack album.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he was highly regarded for his musical skills, not only, in the Monkees, but also his contemporaries also recognized what a good musician he was.
Right.
So my number one is You Stole My Thunder. As we go along.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I think the
So
world of that. And yeah, I can't think of, for me, I can't think of a song that I'd rather hear more than, a song I'd never grow tired of by the Monkees. And that was really what I used to judge, because it's so hard to pick a number one. I mean, I love so much of the Monkees music, and how do you really pick a number one? And you ask me tomorrow, you ask me next week, it could change, but just for right now, a song that I could hear 100 times and never grow sick of, I think as we go along would fit that description pretty well.
well, it's pretty amazing. I mean, the Monkees, of course, there's a lot of songs, and both you and I have that in the number one and number two spot. So you could have picked anything, but yeah, I think as we go along, if you're a serious Monkees fan, you've got to put that song pretty high. I mean, it's a great song.
Yeah, and one of the things that whether you like Head or you don't like Head, the movie I'm talking about, I think that the musical sequences really do the songs justice. I think in the movie, I think the video that they do for As We Go Along just fits that music so well. Daddy's song, I mean, it's Davy Jones and Tony Basil,
Right.
dance number together. Do I Have to Do This All Over Again is just like you'd expect. It's like psychedelic images, and it's, just all over the place.
Yeah.
Porpoise Song is real dreamy with monkeys underwater. Can You Dig It? I think you've got kind of that Middle Eastern.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Going on.
Well, three of my songs in my top 10 are from Head. And really the earliest song I have, well, early morning blues and greens off of Headquarters, and Sometime in the Morning off the second album. But most of the stuff is later in their career. So obviously I prefer the Instant Replay, the Present, to Pisces stuff, Birds of Bees. Yeah. So.
Well, and I feel bad, and I know you and I were talking, off camera earlier, but I feel bad I don't have anything from Changes on here, because I feel that of all the Monkees albums is the one that gets shortchanged, and that people over, because there are only two Monkees on it. There's no Mike Nesmith, and Mike Nesmith's my favorite Monkee. There's no Peter Tork. The two most musically gifted Monkees are not on that album, but I would have loved to have had Acapulco Sun on there. I would have loved to have had Ticket on a Ferry Ride. Oh My. If we had stretched this list out into 20 or 25, I know at least one of those songs would have made it onto that list. So
yeah, I have no problem with that album. I have no problem telling people I like that album. So I don't know. That's just me though. But.
Yeah. So if you're a Monkees fan and you haven't checked that album out, if you're watching this and it's an album that you just kind of not really spent the time trying out or listening to, I really suggest that you reconsider that. So, but
I think I want to say on Midnight Train, doesn't Mickey's sister sing with him on that?
Yeah, Coco Dolenz. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a version there's a box set called Headquarters Session, which is kind of like the Pet Sound Sessions, where every take that they did for the Headquarters Sessions is compiled onto it's like a 4-disc box set or something like that. And they actually have a version where it's just Mickey and Coco doing a demo of that track. Her voice is a lot more, up front mix than it is on the version that was recorded for Change.
They're very similar. They have very similar voices though. I was showing the track list of this, and then I'll stop. The song "You're So Good to Me" is really, really good. That's got a funky beat to it too.
It does.
Davey does great vocals. I think Davey sings on that one. But there's a lot of good stuff. We might have to do a video about Changes.
I Love You Better. I mean,
it's great. I think the only song on here that's not very good is "I Never Thought It Peculiar." I can't say that word, but I think that's the weakest track on the album.
Yeah, well, and that's the last track too. So if you don't like it, you can kind of skip over it. But yeah, and I'm glad you stuck this list and, didn't put anything from Good Times or anything, post changes. Cause the intention of this was just the Monkees classic period. And I like a lot of Good Times. I think that's a fantastic album, but I wanted to stick strictly to the Monkees classic period, but,
Yeah,
I might have found room in a top 25 list for, one of the tracks like Me and Magdalena.
it's a great song.
Or I Know What I Know as a fan. I love that, might be my favorite track out there, that Mike Nesmith song.
Yeah, that's a really good song. Good Times was definitely better than Just Us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm looking here. I mean, they do a version of Circle Sky, but you're not going to really beat the Head version.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's that song Admiral Mike. I think Mickey sings that, but Mike Nesmith wrote. I don't
Right.
know. It's not a very strong album. I'm looking for the year. It came out when I was in college in 1996. So I think it kind of flew under the radar. I don't think anybody really cared that there was a new Monkees album in 1996.
Yeah, it was kind of at the tail end of the whole grunge thing, and
Yeah.
sort of. I think they were trying to keep up with some current trends that were going on in music at the time, which I can't fault
Yeah.
that, but it's better than Pool It for me, but
Oh yeah, I forgot about Pool It. Yeah, I have that on CD as well. I forgot about that album though.
yeah, that is probably
why.
best forgotten about. But
Because there's that song, something about Rico. She's moving in with Rico.
yeah,
It's so freaking cheesy.
yeah, every step of the way. I mean, don't get me started. I actually, funny back in the day, because I was into all things Monkees, and I bought this video cassette. It was called Heart and Soul, and
Yeah.
all the videos from that album, and it had just some vignettes to sort of tie the whole thing together. But yeah, that album is so dated
Yeah.
in a way that
It's not good. Yeah.
their catalog isn't quite as much. But
Right.
yeah,
Well, this was fun.
yeah, that was our top 15 list, to be fair. But yeah, I have a great time talking about the Monkees, and Chris, I'm so glad we got to collaborate on a video. I've been a fan of your channel
Definitely.
for a long time. If you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you check out Chris Propfe's Musically Obsessed. I will include a link on this video for that. But Chris has such a wide ranging taste of music, and I'm always jealous. Anytime I check out his video, he's got so many albums that I really need to have as part of my collection. And Chris is so knowledgeable about so many different styles of music, and you're really going to learn a lot when you check out his videos. So make sure you do that. And probably you're watching this video already because you were already a fan of Chris Propfe. So I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But thanks again, Chris. And hopefully we can do this again on a different topic or artist. And, thanks so much again for joining me.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm very honored to be here, and it was fun talking about the Monkees. Thank you.
Okay.